Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. Here's your boy Sal here, back again with a brand new reaction video, and that's right, we back on that Warframe grind. We back. I'm still in the middle of editing a Warframe actual gameplay episode. Not gonna be one that you're gonna want to miss. Trust me, it's a good one. I liked it. Today is the 8th, Monday the 8th. And the UK's been frosty, it's been snowing, it's been pretty nice, it's been lovely actually. It's been hella cold, which is why I'm wearing my hoodie. What I've decided to do is Noah Seahorn is react to the ones that you posted here. Because you guys love the Ouroboros reaction trailer. There we go. The Ouroboros Nidus reaction, and I really do appreciate that. Do check out rahetalius? Obviously I think you guys already have or are already subbed to him or watch his content anyway, so that's pretty cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to react to the ones that Noah has set out here. So Frost, Avara, Hydroid, Oberon, Wisp, Valkyr and Mesa. The rest have a weird voice actor. Wouldn't recommend listening to him. So unless you guys feel differently to that, that's the plan. And we're going to bring one out per day from tomorrow, which will be the 9th, which will be when you guys are watching this, so it's all worked out. And if you're not that into Warframe 1, you've probably not clicked on this video, or you're not watching it, and if you are watching it and you're not really into Warframe, don't worry, we got you covered, because we've got Half-Life 2 this week. We've got Half-Life 2 coming at you, at least one episode. And if you're not really into Half-Life 2, then we've got just gaming reactions, gaming trailer reactions, which at the moment, there's not much. I'll be honest, there's not much. I still need to take a look at the Mass Effect trailer, but that's it. That's it. Alright, but obviously I am open to any kind of content you want to see. Any reactions, do let me know. Monster Hunter as well, that is definitely one we got to get to. Two. Without further ado, we're going to jump straight in, beginning with the Warframe development report. Frost. This is a lot longer. This is 17 minutes long. This is a lot longer than the Nidus one. I'm not sure exactly what to expect. I mean, so far rahetalius, I'm going to go with rahetalius. His content has been on point. We've reacted to a fair few of his videos so far. We're going to react to another one. Let's get straight into this then. Warframe development report. Frost. There isn't a description as such, just do you remember the purge of Pluto? So, I'm going to say no, I don't remember the purge of Pluto. I'm sure I'm going to find out. I can't wait. Headphones are on. Hair's a little bit long because we're still in lockdown, but we're ready. We're recording. Aaron, feel free to edit out whatever you want. I'm rambling at this point.
Do you remember the purge of Pluto? No? Take a seat and I will tell you.
Alright.
For those unaware, I am Archimedean Lathar. Normally, it is my duty to only note upon finalized Warframe projects, but at times I am expected to fulfill additional duties. In this case, I'll be giving a minor history lesson. Now, to quench your curiosity, what was the Purge of Pluto? It was a slaughter, a massacre, an extermination. Pick any phraseology of that caliber and stick with it, because that's what it was.
Okay.
Following the formation of the Corpus insurrection, so-called debt internment punishment camps were established, such as Colony Fortuna on the planet of Venus, and Colony Ministrio on the planet of Neptune.
Okay.
Those were the most prominent camps of the Corpus, but of course, they all had to have an originator, correct? That is where Pluto comes into the picture. The Corpus sought to establish a secure facility which they could utilize to harbor those who found themselves devoid of wealth, thanks to the Corpus, until their debts could be repaid. For this, a location that was harsh and desolate enough to make escape simultaneously impossible and pointless was required. So after much consideration, the Corpus chose to construct their prototype internment colony in the frigid tundras of Pluto. To put on a front, the Corpus designs a colony to look like any other Corpus robotics factory from the outside. going so far to preserve the image of constructing a factory that the 1,368 dead prisoners of the colony were outfitted with standard issue construction equipment and were essentially forced to build their own prison.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The colony's official name, at least to the Corpus, was compiled...
So not only are you forced into this makeshift... Well, not even makeshift. Not only are you forced into, like, I assume a city? Because Fortuna comes across as a city. I know it is more of a labour... I guess it is more of a labour camp. Now that I think about it, yeah, it is more of a labour camp, if you really look down into the details. But the fact that you've, one, got to go to this labour camp prison place, you're building it yourself. Before we even get started, you have to build it yourself. And, gosh, imagine the psychological strain.
Automaton manufacturing plant 0R52BV6, in keeping with standard naming conventions to maintain the appearance of being a factory. To the colonists, they called it Camp Zero. In the eyes of the Corpus, their financial prisoners were both a business venture and a technological opportunity, as each and every man, woman and child were...
Okay, it's actually getting very hot. Let me take my hoodie off. Okay, we're back in the room now. Let's go.
Woman and child were, in the eyes of the Corpus, no different from animals. And as far as the Corpus were concerned, animals had no rights. Colonists were metaphorically and literally worked to death at Camp Zero,
Wow.
allowing Corpus scientists ample opportunity to experiment with the idea of having fully autonomous robotics in lieu of their traditional programmed Moas or Bursas. To reach this goal, the Corpus believed they needed to somehow infuse the life of an organism into a machine. This concept was thought to be impossible by transplanting the consciousness of a living being into
What's the name of that? Is it
machinery,
Cyborg?
which was broken
Cyborgs,
down
right?
into 6 steps. 1. Acquire genetic material or easily malleable template. 2. Create a clone from said genetic material. 3. Allow clone to grow until mental state is formed and stable. 4. Upload its mind onto a restricted environment computer for study and further modification if need be, killing clone in the process. 5. Once the mind is predisposed to corpus servitude, copy it into a test vessel for analysis. 6. Destroy the vessel once testing is complete. Whether this was a genuine endeavor for a truly autonomous force or an attempt to bastardize Warframe technology by mass-producing imitations is unknown, but given our affairs with the Corpus, this is a very possible idea. However, death was not an escape for the prisoners of Camp Zero. The entire inmate population had genetic samples taken for clone study and were microchipped in order to have constant surveillance of health and brainwave patterns. Not out of genuine concern, of course, but to ensure that laborers were adequate enough for the morrow. At any sign of being close to death, whether through suicide or attempted murder via cannibalism, retrieval men would be immediately dispatched to transport a prisoner to the inner labs of the prison. There, the prisoner would be barely kept alive while they were rehabilitated. Prisoners always returned from the inner labs, but they were never the same. Some would return in a near-vegetative state. Others would show symptoms of mania, somatic symptom disorder, or dissociative disorder. Some unlucky few were revived by having their consciousness be transferred to an intentionally deformed clone body created by already taken genetic samples. Regardless of how they came back, all prisoners never again dared to die. Naturally, many issues came up almost instantly. The Corpus cared for as little as possible on those who owed them, so the prisoners were provided with minimal to no protection against the bitter cold of Pluto, and oftentimes prisoners found themselves fighting for mere scraps to eat.
I do get that from Corpus though, like even when you fight them, the way they speak is a lot more, it just feels a lot more authoritative than the Grenier. I don't know if you get that, but it feels like a proper regime. It feels properly embedded into them, which sort of elevates a factor of authority in that scare factor, right? Because with the Grineer, yes, okay, they're meant to be soldiers, and I'm not even going to go. I'm not even going to go into the depths of the Grineer and try and have a conversation about something I do not understand. But obviously, the Grineer are not soldiers. Not all of them aren't soldiers, you know. But although the Grineer have that authority themselves, you take them a lot less seriously, I find. And that might be just to do with their... Maybe it is to do with their looks and their sort of cloning of themselves, and you know, there's some messed up stuff there. But with the Corpus, because they have this... Everyone's wearing the same sort of helmet or very similar. It's all very regimed and what's the word I'm looking for? Incremented, I think. I think that's the word I'm looking for. I might be wrong, but they do come across a lot more just authoritarian. I don't know if you get that, but I do. I feel it. I feel it when I fought them. Like their voice lines and everything, they just feel a lot more present, I guess.
Sometimes resorting to consuming ration crumbs from trash piles or killing stray birds. Pluto was not known for its wildlife, so consuming animals was more of a rare event. Being reduced to manual labor meant that the prisoners were exhausted on a constant basis, increased even more so due to lack of proper nutrition and temperature-appropriate equipment. A few were foolish enough to try to run away, only for them to be tranquilized and dragged to the inner labs, as if they were animals. Prisoners always returned from the inner labs, but they were never the same. Camp Zero did not receive its name because of the temperature, but because none of the inmates would ever be getting out alive. The remaining somewhat sane inmates of the prison populace formed a coalition and began setting forth plans to take over the entire camp. Unfortunately for them, one of their own was a traitor and promptly sold them out to the Corpus in exchange for better treatment and privileges.
Oh wow, I bet he didn't get them.
Or shortening a sentence at Camp Zero was out of the question. The prisoners, except for the informant, were immediately charged with insubordination, conspiracy,
I want to know what
and
happened to the
several
informant.
other accusations with questionably convenient evidence. Seeking to send a message, the Corpus demanded every prisoner to gather on the camp yard. The prisoners were ordered to divide themselves into 3 groups: those who were not married, those who were married, and those who had children. After a hesitant movement, the prisoners did as they were told. Immediately, guards came flooding into the prison yard, with shock prods and rifles in hand. Those who were not married were herded like livestock and beaten by the guards to near death. The constant hits of a shock prod meant that the only warmth any of them would receive would be that of an electric bludgeon. Prisoners that stopped resisting or went limp were carted off to the inner labs. The children and married prisoners watched in horror as their fellows were being brutally assaulted, with no way to fight back. Those who were married with no children were forcibly separated and dragged away at random to the inner labs. Some would return with absolutely no recollection of their identity or life before Camp Zero. Some would return with missing vocal cords and tongues. Prisoners always returned from the inner labs, but they were never the same. Those who were married and had children were handed shock prods and ordered to fight their partner to the death. The Corpus making sure that the children were physically unharmed. Those who refused to comply were promptly beaten by the guards and dragged their children off to the inner labs, never to be seen again. That night, 1,368 prisoners were gathered on the grounds. At the end of that night, only 253 would be left.
Oh,
252
wow.
children and that very same traitor. But of course, no prison lasts forever. One of our Ifara units discovered Camp Zero while on a planetary expedition assignment to Pluto and saw fit to report back to Orokin authority. None of our existing Warframes had the capacity to be deployed to Camp Zero, as all of them were either not suitable for extended engagement in extreme weather, or too destructive, which would make it obvious to the Corpus that Camp Zero would be under attack. To avoid instigating a full-on war with the Corpus, the Council of Seven authorized a clandestine operation against Camp Zero, with the main priority being the elimination of Corpus presence. Instead of sending a battalion of DEC soldiers, only one was sent. Not a soldier, but an operator. File number Victor Whiskey Tech 003. Designation Frost. There are rare instances in which we call upon a Warframe that was designed to fulfill one specific objective. For Frost, that would be operations in sub-zero climate, whether it be strictly off-the-record mobilizations or full-frontal assault. The pale snow exterior decorating Frost allows him to virtually blend into any Arctic environment, while also having practical purpose. Similar to Oberon, Frost chassis is outfitted with a selectively permeable outer layer, but instead of manipulating radioactive isotopes, Frost is capable of manipulating surrounding air and moisture. Frost absorbs surrounding air and internally supercools it on a near constant basis in order to fuel his abilities, meaning that so long as air or water is present in the area, he is never without a source of ice. The supercooling mechanism within Frost is actually so potent that it's part of the reason why Frost's chassis has...
So as long as Frost wasn't to, I guess, go near superheated planets or a heat source of which, humidity could not exist, he's fine, is that right? See, it'd be good if that actually showed in the game as well, like because I know some of the Grineer bases you go into and there'll be like big furnaces and that. Just imagine if Frost's abilities wouldn't work in those places. That would be super cool. Maybe that is a thing. That's not a thing, is it? I don't think that's going to be a thing. I don't think DE would look into that hard. But it should be a thing. Because that's really cool, because then you actually have to choose what Warframe for each. That's pretty cool to me. That's an idea.
Such a pale color. The extreme low temperature bleeds out to Frost's exterior, so much so that anything that hits Frost has a chance of becoming affected by the cold. It is not unheard of for an enemy to bludgeon Frost, only to then be seemingly frozen in place. Attribute number 1. Congeal. Naturally, Frost is more than capable of firing projectiles of sub-zero intensity for whatever applications desired. The operator in question might choose to ice over a specific surface, causing any and all hostiles to become slowed upon contact with the surface, due to, having to walk over a sheet of ice. Alternatively, the operator might instead decide to simply freeze a particularly bothersome target, causing them to be held in cold suspension for a limited time. However, caution should be exercised. Dealing enough damage to a frozen target will allow them to break free, so it's recommended that operators either apply any damage over time effects at their disposal before freezing a target, or to simply nuke the frozen target, so to speak. Additionally, the freeze supplementary module is available for usage, which allows Frost to congeal the weapons of all nearby allies with burglars, causing all attacks delivered to have an additional glacial effect for a limited time. This does its job as intended, but overall it does not demand usage unless a team requires so for a certain strategy. Attribute number 2. Ice Stalagmite. On command, Frost may infuse the ground directly in front of him with some of his supercooled material, causing a rapid temperature drop, which radiates outward, effectively creating rows and rows of sharp slivers of ice. However, this ripple of flash freezing energy is not potent enough to directly freeze any targets struck, but the chill is still enough to have lingering effects, making it highly useful when facing off against multiple targets in medium to close range. Utilizing the impedance supplementary module forces the ripple to linger rather than immediately dissipate, allowing whatever surfaces have been afflicted with ice to remain coated so for a limited amount of time. It should be noted that this effect can be modified with duration-based modules, meaning that operators become capable of coating wide-degree areas with fields of ice to strain the enemy as much as possible. Attribute number 3. Sphere Rule. Whilst Frost is actively intaking air and moisture from the environment to fuel his abilities, he is also actively measuring the temperature of his immediate surrounding area. The reasoning for this is because Frost is not just capable of absorbing humidity, but also manipulating it. At any time, Frost can release a surge of supercooled material around him, forming a perfect self-sustaining dome or sphere.
It's interesting because I don't remember the Nidus development report being like this, but maybe it wasn't the same kind of style. Because I really enjoyed all the story of why Frost was kind of created, I guess, or developed, obviously. But I don't know, and this might just be me, this might be, it's an opinion. I don't know if there needs to be all this description of each ability of Frost. Because I imagine the people watching this video or watching the development report know about the abilities, or they can find this information in game. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people do like to have each ability read out to them, because it brings maybe Frost to life a bit more. It makes the Warframe, your connection with the Warframe, more synergetic, I guess. I don't know. Because I was very much involved. I was committed up until I think the second attribute, and now I'm just I'm teetering off a little bit, only because I was so enveloped in the Pluto story. Maybe it's just me. I just don't know if all this needs to be on there, or maybe you go over each attribute briefly. I don't know. Maybe that's just me though. Maybe. I mean, it's my opinion. I love the video so far. It's awesome. It's just this. I don't know if there needs to be, I assume, almost 5 minutes, 3-4 minutes of very in-depth explanations of the abilities when we kind of either already know, or that information is so easily identifiable in game or wikis. We're kind of here for the story, right? But it is a Warframe development report, so it makes sense. I'm going off on a tangent. Let's continue.
Depending on where Frost is physically present, of protective ice capable of withstanding repeated blows. Because the intensity of the supercooled material is based entirely on the physical toughness of Frost himself, since he has to have a properly encased supercooler in addition to encased wiring, it is possible to increase the durability of this protective dome by focusing on increasing Frost's active armor and/or active strength amount. The ever-popular chilling supplementary module is also an option, usage of which allows Frost Dome to potentially freeze any enemies that enter the area. Highly efficient for defensive-oriented missions, but otherwise it does its job. Attribute number 4. Hyperborean.
You see, it just kind of
like
it just continues.
Frost
you know what I mean?
can cause a
I don't
sudden
know.
temperature drop in the surrounding area, forcing ice to almost seamlessly form and drop, all thanks to gravity. The instant change in heat has a direct effect on enemies, causing their equipment and equipped defenses to be splintered and broken, all the while becoming enveloped in layers of ice. Anything that dies from this explodes, sending miniature shards of ice outward and applying more numbing effects to other nearby targets. As aggressive as this may sound, the icy supplementary module also gives this maneuver a more defensive approach. allies struck by this cold bomb have layers of ice applied to them as well, but not so severely that they become frozen as well. Instead, allies gain immunity to all knockdown and elemental effects in addition to simple damage absorption. Think of it like having an actual coat to protect you from the elements. But given that this defensive property is also affected by any and all power-enhancing modules active on frost, protect you from the elements. But given that this defensive property is also affected by any and all power-enhancing modules active on frost, this coat can become more like a minor shield, depending on how many total entities were affected by the sudden barrage of ice. Now then, you might be asking, what happened to Camp Zero? As said before, sparking open warfare with the Corpus was to be avoided at all costs. So, the purpose of deploying a Frost to deal with Camp Zero was to make it look as if the entire facility was overtaken by a freak blizzard.
That's smart.
Choosing to remain as covert as possible, the active operator cut all communications with Orokin High Command for a total duration of 32 minutes and 5 seconds. Upon that amount of time having elapsed, the operator re-established communications and immediately requested for a rescue ship to be dispatched in order to safely bring the 252 surviving children back to us. When asked what happened to Camp Zero, the occupying Corpus, or the traitorous prisoner, the operator responded with a single sentence. Beautiful snow only hides what lies below. Terminating entry.
Very cool. Okay. Alright, okay. I love what he does with these videos. I really, really do. I love the story. I love learning. I love the backstory. I know you guys said that a lot of it is like fan lore or fan stuff, but it's cool. It's fucking cool. I have to be honest, I stand by what I said. I feel like that last sort of 5 minutes of going over in extreme detail each and every attribute of Frost didn't need to be in there. Personally, for me, it didn't need to be in there. I mean, I'm so embedded and committed to this story, I didn't have to wait through 5 minutes of what I almost felt like a sell to Frost. It went from me feeling sorry and really embedded into the story to me wearing a suit and about to buy a new Warframe and being told what this thing does. Every single attribute in detail. But maybe I'm missing the point that it is a development report, and that is what the video is. But I thought the Nidus video was a development report. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it wasn't. That's why there was none of that bit in there. And then for it to sort of in the final 30 seconds to a minute go back to the Pluto story. I loved it. I do. I really love rahetalius's way with things. I don't know if that's him as the voice actor. I think it's... Did it say? I think it did, right? Art done by Find Her Content. It doesn't say, so maybe this was just done by rahetalius, but... I mean, wow. What a story, though. And how smart is that, getting a Frost Warframe to make it look like there was just some insane wizard storm that just destroyed everything and made it look as if there was a blizzard. That's so smart. That's so cool. Alright guys, well as I say, you're going to get one of these every day from the list that Noah put on the Ouroboros video. If you haven't checked it out, do check it out. It's up there. Aaron timestamp it. It's up there. And yeah, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of my reaction. I really want your guys' thoughts on what I've said about this bit. Because clearly it's, you know, people love this video. We got 3.3k likes, 53 dislikes. 53 dislikes. Nothing against that wave of likes. I wonder if DE should hire you and the Siege to work on lore for this game. Because you guys said he did, right? You guys said that they did hire him, or he used to be with them but then walked away or something, I believe. I mean, no one else is having the same opinion as me, so maybe I am wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong. I really, really am, because I like the video so much. And I shouldn't just be, and I know what you're saying, I shouldn't be caught on just that, because the rest of the video was fucking fantastic. Maybe if I was playing as Frost, I would be more committed to the attributes part. Maybe when it comes to Avara or Wukong, if we're reacting to those, depends on what was on Noah's list. Maybe I'll feel, I think Avara was, so that'll be interesting. Maybe I'll feel differently, I don't know, who knows. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching the video, I hope you have enjoyed. Check out rahetalius' channel if you haven't, I'll obviously leave a link in the description. And rahetalius, if you are watching any of these videos, I appreciate you, appreciate your content, absolutely insane. I doubt you are watching, but if you are watching, I just love these videos. I hope you don't mind me making reaction content on your content, because I would hate for you to not want that. But I feel this is kind of what this is made of. This is what these videos are made for. You know what I mean? They really, really are. Alright, guys, thank you very much for watching. As I say, being your boy Zal here. If you did like the video, leave a like and do put a comment down below. Obviously, we'll reply to you, and I love reading every single one of your comments and at least acknowledging them. If I don't reply, you'll know that I've acknowledged it just by the heart on your comment. You'll know I've read that comment. But thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one.